Morning, Archie.
Good morning, Barbara.
We obviously know each other quite well. For the sake of the other people who'll be listening today, I wonder, could you introduce yourself? And if you don't mind telling us your age?
I'm 21, so we'll get that out the way right away. Now, my name's Archie Noone. I'm a member of the Scottish Dementia Working Group. I live in Dundee. I'm also the vice chair of that group, and I'm also the chair of the research group for the Scottish Dementia Working Group. And that's about all. And our age, oh God, 75.
75?
Yes,
Okay.
in June, or last June past.
I know you have a diagnosis of dementia.
Yes.
Has it been explained to you what form you have of that particular syndrome?
I was diagnosed with vascular dementia, which I still have, unfortunately, and it wasn't explained very well when I was diagnosed. We all seem to have this problem, Barbara, when we're diagnosed and we come back to our own home. We're actually in limbo because we don't know what's going on. And mine wasn't very good. When the young lady came and knocked on my door and says, "You've got vascular dementia," although I had already been told, she just handed me a pack, put it on my little coffee table, and says, "That's all the information you need is in there." And away she went. The total time she was in was about under 10 minutes. And I really took fright at that point because I had no idea what to expect. No idea at all. It was a case of just, in fact, I've said it many times before, I never moved out my wee house for 3 weeks. It was like a glass box I was in. And inside that glass box, I'd metaphorically put a glass telephone. So I had a backup. So eventually I picked up that telephone because I was watching outside this glass box, watching the world go by. And I wasn't part of it. And that's not me. My personality is not that. I'm out there causing as much trouble as I possibly can. But then again, picked up that phone, I says, "I need some help."
What sort of things were worrying you? What were you aware of? What was concerning you?
Fright, fear of going out and doing something that I shouldn't be doing and not knowing that I've done it. That was my main concern, was the fright of actually going into a situation whereby someone would know I had this problem, or they didn't know I had this problem, and they might think it was something else. Like drink. I mean, after about 6 glasses of champers, you do get a bit woozy. So that's what I was actually frightened of. Frightened of going into my community. I live in sheltered accommodation, and I was frightened of going even out to my own little meeting room because I didn't know what I was going to do. So consequently, the 3 weeks of not flipping moving. And that was a frightening situation. And there was nobody at that time to help me until he came from Alzheimer Scotland, and then she brought me up to Glasgow here to the Scottish Dementia Working Group, and my life changed completely. Now I create havoc here than anywhere else. But all joking aside, my sense of humour, it's been a life-changing moment when this happened. Because my personality as such is that I go out. People don't come to meet me, I go to meet them. So if they find out that I've got dementia, they'll say, "Oh, what's that like?" But I don't let it get to that stage. I tell them what the problems are, that I stammer, I sometimes just switch off, which I made during this interview. I may just switch off for a few seconds because my wee brain just can't stand it. And I've got a very small brain, but that's what it's been like. Sorry, I'm prattling on a bit.
Not at all. Is it possible to go back a little bit and think about what concerned you in the first place that led you to believe something was wrong? What sort of things were happening to you?
How it actually happened is it was my 60th birthday, I think. I was in Menorca, and I left Patricia in the villa and I was driving into Mahon to get something, and suddenly everything just went skew-whiff. Vision, everything. Of course, when you're driving, you're on the other side of the Fleming Road, so when I got out of the car, I always got run over by a car that was coming the other way. I had to get out of the car, sit at the side of the road. I said, this isn't right. Everything seems to be out of balance. And then when I came back, I didn't know at that time that I'd had a stroke. When I came back, I went, because my eyesight went. Well, not went, my left-hand side, my left eye went. And I went to the opticians, and it was the optician that twigged it.
Right, so that was the route.
That was the route it went down. Then, a few months later, I got my scan, and then and I went to Strathcathro for my scan, which is it's not the main one, but it was brilliant because I'm a real curious individual. It was brilliant because he actually let me see the scan, how they slice the brain up, and it comes into sections. It's like one of these sliced loaves.
Yes.
And he showed me the little white spot where I'd had the stroke. And that was a great relief to me to see that actually happening.
Why do you say it was a relief? Was it just having something tangible?
Exactly, something that you could actually put your, well, you can't put your hand on it, but something that you could actually look at and say, that's what's caused it. And then, of course, we go down the route. Well, I didn't actually. I wanted to find out what was happening, how it was happening, why it was happening. Lots and lots of questions. But I had to find most of the answers myself.
Right.
It was difficult to get someone to sit down and talk to me and say, look, this is what's happening, this is what's happening. And I found, I don't know what your interviews have been before me, but this seems to be a problem. When we first get diagnosed, we don't get the information we need. And it is quite, I would say, yes, it is, it's devastating. I keep coming back to this thing about not going out of the house for 3 weeks. I keep coming at it.
Sounds very frightening.
It's like we've put ourselves in a self-imposed vacuum. And that vacuum is us. But we know within ourselves that we shouldn't be in a vacuum. We should be out there causing as much havoc as we possibly can to actually get this problem out to the public, take out the stigma of dementia.
What about the general public and their understanding of dementia?
Difficult. For instance, before I had an idea of what to do with my little blue pass, because they took my driving licence off me right away. I've got it back, by the way, but they took it off me. And when I was going on the bus, and I was standing in a queue, I got onto the platform, and I couldn't remember where I was going. And that was a really bugbearer for me. I said, oh God, what am I going to do here? And when I came here, it was so simply solved. Beside your blue pass, in your wallet, put where you live. Problem solved.
Is that an idea that someone in the group
Yes,
offered to you?
that was it. I said, that's great. And that was the first time I was here. Because it's the first thing I think I ever said, that I'm getting really embarrassed going on public transport.
Do you find that the group share ideas through their experiences?
Oh, they're brilliant, yes. And humour, goodness gracious. The way that if anybody from the outside was, I think the terminology is an inertial observer, was actually there watching us, they think we're all mad, because there are a lot of humour coming into it. But that's the way we actually progress. We take it seriously, but we don't take it that seriously that we go into a decline, a morbid decline or anything like that. It's a case of lost it.
Talk about the group and what it means to you, what you offer to each other, including maybe some practical ideas.
Yes.
And you were mentioning that you use humour as almost like a part of your coping, I suppose.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Describing it.
And the group here as well. When as I say, I live in sheltered accommodation. I live on my own. Oh, very sad. I live on my own. Oh, I'm really sad about that. Thank goodness. And anyway, in my kitchen, they put ideas into my head about post-it notes. I've got post-it notes all over the flipping place. Switch off this, switch off that, switch on that, and even one flush of the loo. Now, people do not imagine that you would ever forget to flush the loo. And yet, that's one of the posters I've got. Have you flushed the loo? So I look back, yes, I have.
So these are helpful to you, are these prompts?
And I wouldn't have got them if I wasn't here. Now, everybody who watches this DVD has an advantage, or has the advantage, of listening to me waffling away. Says, right then, Archie said this, Archie said that. Why did he say that? What's at the back of his wee head that he wants us to know these things? Because it makes life easier for us. Life's not a trial. We never use the word suffering, because we don't. It's a trial, though. But we can put things, I think that Wendy said coping strategies. I can't even say that word. We put that in place.
Right.
So we cope, so we make our life a lot easier for us. Like, for instance, we do a tremendous amount of travelling. Travel all over the place. Even lost it again.
Talk about travelling,
yeah.
Archie? And the amount of travelling that you do?
I travel to Brussels on my own. I don't need to have anybody with me. I'm fortunate. I don't need to have anybody with me. But how long that's going to last, I don't know. Because Wendy and I were sitting outside the station in Dundee. I was going to Aberdeen for the opening of not for opening, just to see the new place in Aberdeen. And that's all Wendy and I spoke about for 10 minutes. You're going to Aberdeen, take photographs. Who's the area manager for that place now? Anyway, I went into the station, went up to the booking office, booked Glasgow, because I always come to Glasgow.
Really?
Didn't realise till I got in the taxi at this end. He said, where are you going, mate? I said, the Dementia Centre in King Street in Aberdeen. He says, you're in the wrong city. So I had to go back on the train, right the way up to, it's Gabrielle. I had to go back all the way up to Aberdeen, meet Gabrielle, have dinner for the conference the next day. The upshot of that was I was extremely worried. I says, is this another stage of my dementia coming through quicker than what I thought it was? And then, this is how it helps when you're in a group like ours. Even says, Archie says, I've missed my spot on the motorway. She says, I've often got on the wrong train. But for that 10 minutes after I got back on the Aberdeen train, my head was practically on the table. I says, what's happening to me?
Is it helpful when people point that out, Archie, that these are things actually that can happen?
Yes.
Anyone, do you worry that it's everything that goes wrong is part of the illness?
I'll tell you why, Barbara, but we don't realise that we are not the only idiots that walk about this world. There's a lot of people who do exactly the same as us, but they haven't got dementia. They haven't got it. But it's just a fact of life. The pressure that the pace of life we have is in such a pace that we just can't stop. We can't slow down. We've got to go from A to B all the time. I'm fortunate, very fortunate, that I can do it at the present moment. But I know that it's going to be in the future, I won't be able to do it. But with having the Scottish Dementia Working Group at my back, I'll be able to cope a lot better because the mechanisms will be there.
You started to give us a bit of a flavour of the sort of things that happen to you now that you have dementia.
Yes.
And you've explained that, you know, ordinary everyday mistakes, it's sometimes hard to say, would that have happened anyway?
Mm-hmm.
But are there specific things that you think happen in your day-to-day life that you know is because you have dementia, how it actually impacts on your day-to-day life?
Yes. As I said to you at the beginning, I've lost my licence, but I got my licence back, and I'm running about in a wee MR2 sports car at the present moment. But that is one thing that I am aware of. I haven't got the same, I won't say the same memory. I haven't got the same, what's the word I'm looking for, Barbara? I haven't got the same confidence that I had in the past. When I'm driving round, I've got to go to places 2 or 3 times now before I can go there on my own. Somebody said to me, get a sat-nav. But if I got a sat-nav, that would mean my wee brain wasn't being used. So I don't do that deliberately. It means a lot of waste of petrol, by the way, coming back from where I want to go, because I can't get there. But eventually I do.
You feel the need to keep trying.
Oh, I'm a pain in the neck. I keep trying. I don't give in to anything unless I have to. I'm not stupid. Sometimes you just have to give in. But it's after a few tries before I go down that road. There's another thing we mentioned it earlier. When we're in public, crowds annoy me.
Right.
The station this morning was an absolute nightmare.
Right.
It annoyed me.
Can you tell us a wee bit more about that? Is it a fear because of the crowds, or is it a lack of tolerance or a lack of confidence again? Do you know what it is? What makes
The whole
feel
lot, the whole 3 things you just mentioned.
All of it.
Yes. Don't know if people are going to bump into me, or is it me that's bumping into them?
Right.
Because I don't know. The actual claustrophobic environment that's there is a bother to me. It's not impossible, I can deal with it, but I don't like dealing with it. This is what we're trying to get over in the future. The researchers are coming up with things to actually let us live a normal, I keep saying it, let us live a normal life. And that's what I want to do. I want to cause as much havoc as I possibly can and just be me, not be a dementia person, just be me. I think that's an important point for me personally to actually do.
That's an important point. It sounds like a very good point to end on.
I've got dementia, but dementia hasn't got me.